Hey everybody, I'm Chase Batiche, astrologer and mystic. I'm here to talk about the new moon today in Cancer, July 17th, 2023. So tomorrow, the nodes of fate are going to be going into Aries and Libra. We're transiting out of the Taurus Scorpio axis, moving into the Aries Libra axis. That is almost exactly happening at the same exact time as this new moon. This is significant because for a few reasons. So Pluto is playing a big role on this new moon. It's playing a big role currently just with all transits, but this new moon in particular is opposing Pluto, and Pluto is squaring the nodes. So all of that is simultaneously happening. What does that mean? Well, I've talked about Pluto quite a bit. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I love me some Pluto, because Pluto is the energy of absolute change and transformation. It rules death and rebirth. It rules the ending. It rules our deepest shadows. It rules our deepest obsessions. It rules addictions. It rules our darkest parts of ourselves, yet it also rules the things that, when bringing light to and understanding, we are able to let go. Pluto is the energy of absolute renewal, of absolute change. It's the moment when we are able to face our fears and let go of something. That at its essence is what Pluto is about. Pluto, to me, is very much about this point in our lives when we're holding on to something. It really is the essence of fear and control. We're holding on to something with all of our might, with all of our power, because we're afraid of letting go. We're afraid of being out of control, so therefore we try to control ourselves, but through that process we become dark. We lie to ourselves. We lose our power, because when things have control over you, that's when we are in some sort of a fear state. When we are trying to control others, that's also when we are in some sort of fear state. And at its essence, at its deepest essence, Pluto is this energy of intense control, kind of really, and fear that kind of blocks out the light. On its flip side, and the reason why I love it so freaking much is because on its flip side, it's also the energy that lets go and lets all the light in, that transforms, that releases that iron grip on whatever it is that we're afraid of. It's that deepest primordial power that all of us have inside of us to truly let go. This idea of letting go, what does that mean? Because I think about that a lot. I always think about the words to let go. What does that actually mean? Well, to let something means to allow it. Go means that there is already something that is going. Right? There's something that is already happening, going. There is a flow. The way I like to think about it is that there's a flow. There's a flow in this universe. You can call it the Tao. You can call it God. You can call it love. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But there is a flow. And that flow is harmonious. That flow is balanced. That flow has our highest destiny. That flow has our highest evolutionary track. And to align with that flow means that we align with the mystery of what it means to be alive, of what it means to have the consciousness we do here on planet Earth at this time. Meaning we don't have all the answers. We don't know what the absolute truth is. We give ourselves over to a mysterious force, and we have faith in this force. And through that process, we are able to flow. We are able to surf the currents of life without needing to know all the answers, without needing to know every single piece of how, why, when, what, where, without needing to control it. And when we can meet that sweet spot of riding these waves, facilitating, harnessing the current without clasping, grasping, needing to control it out of fear of the mystery, is when we gain the deepest levels of power. When we are holding on so tightly that we're not actually able to be in the flow, and we're blocking the flow, and we're creating our own flow, and that flow can get distorted because a lot of it's based on race consciousness of what other people think we should be doing. That is when we start to get more and more and more and more controlled, dark. We have a very, very narrow idea of what is right in our lives, and anything outside of that becomes scary. And so we keep ourselves in these boxes, and we hold on, and we control for dear life to keep ourselves in that box. That is Plutonic. It's this idea that we have this rigid idea of what is right, and we hold. So releasing ourselves over to the mystery, releasing ourselves to God, the universe, allowing, surrendering, shifting, vibrating, opening to the mystery and allowing that mystery to exist and to begin to honor it in ourselves and in the world. That is Plutonic shit. That is the source of power. A great example of this, one of my favorite astrologers, Stephen Forrest, talks about this. Two great examples of Pluto. One would be Hitler. The other would be Gandhi. These are just archetypal ideas. But, Hitler had a very narrow idea of what he thought was right, of what he thought the way things needed to be, right? He created and controlled, and there was a lot of darkness that resulted because of that. Gandhi was more on a spiritual path of aligning with a deeper truth, a deeper flow, of a natural current, of a race of people desiring freedom on a deep, deep, deep level, harmonizing with that force and riding it to its own evolutionary potential power of release. Another great example would be like in your own life, you're obsessed with the safety of something, someone, yourself. You go to great lengths to make sure that you're safe in that way, and what's overriding that is a fear, right, of not being safe. So then all these things happen. The fear controls and constricts and brings in, so that only that this much can actually happen, right? A way in your own life would be to somehow release that fear. Allow trust in the universe, trust in God, trust in this flow, trust in divine guidance, trust and be open to that. And that process of letting go is the absolute power that we can attain in this life, being human. And it's not any kind of power over anyone else. It's actually power within the self to transcend our own limitations of constriction and to align with a greater force than ourselves, which is ultimately aligning with love over fear. At its core, that's what Pluto is about. You can look at that and say, okay, I'm going to do that with my fellow people. I'm going to do that with humanity. You can look at it in your own life with your own self, because every journey begins with ourself, our own shadow. How can you begin to align with love over fear in your own life, in your own being, in your own spiritual quiet moments, in your own belief systems, in your own thinking, in your own quiet time? What does that look like for you? What does that look like for you? So Pluto is making a big scene here on this new moon. So I talked about the nodes, shifting into Aries, and how that's going to be incredibly meaningful, empowering, And it's going to put us back to an instinctual animal energy that we can actually have. It's going to provide a deep level of primordial energy to us all. That is aligning with this new moon and squaring of the moon and the sun, in the opposition to Pluto. What's interesting about the new moon and this, is that the moon changes sign every 2 days. It takes 28 and a half days for it to go around the entire sign of the zodiac. So this is a very, this is a moment of alignment that is going to be moving out. But on this new moons they're indicating this time of planting a seed. And the fact that it's happening in alignment with these nodes moving, and the Pluto being up front and center, nodes moving into Aries, Libra, to me, this is like a holy kind of invocation of a transcendent kind of, it's really a time for us all to kind of go inward. And when I was talking about allowing, I had a great workshop with some friends yesterday about the nodes, and we all were kind of talking about what does it mean for us to be going into this new time. And, I've been talking about how the past couple of years, I feel the COVID years, I kind of went a little bit out of alignment with my natural rhythms of how I've kind of always been. And I think that natural rhythm was taken off by fear, because the collective fear, just the fear on the planet, all the energy work I've done, it's like I'm not totally impervious to it, right? This Aries energy, this Aries North Node energy, it's imbuing us all with a deep warrior power, a deep courage. And when Pluto up in the mix, we're at a point where we can release those fears, those last vestiges of whatever was holding us down, whatever was putting us in this kind of survival mode, especially for the empaths. And we're kind of at a transcendent moment of kind of stepping into a new way of being. It's a timeline shift. And so what we can do, instead of pushing, what we can do with this energy is simply allow ourselves to click back into what our previous state of harmonizing with, prioritizing our own self, prioritizing our own health, wealth, well-being. This is something to just to think about and to meditate on, because we are shifting. This is a massive shifting point, and we're in a plutonic kind of channel right now. And we're getting really boosted with probably some of the most powerful archetypal astrological energies, which is Aries and Pluto, pushing this and pressuring us and birthing something. Pluto, when you talk about energy of death and rebirth, the ultimate energy of letting something go or allowing something to be birthed. It's a simultaneous existence, but you can focus on whatever you want, whichever aspect you want of it. But birth is a natural process, right? It's a natural process. When something is ready to be birthed, it naturally comes out. And every mother I've ever talked to about childbirth has talked about how basically it's just simply a matter of letting go. And it's the thing that contracts. I remember talking to one of my clients once about her childbirth experience. And she had a midwife and all these things. And the baby started getting its heart rate started going up. It started to be in danger while she was birthing it, because she was gripping so hard. And the thing that was the main point of her being able to actually release the child was when her midwife was like, you need to relax. You have to relax. And of course, it's not easy. You're in pain. I'm not saying that this birth is an easy process at all. But what I've gathered over time with people talking about birth and the birthing process is that it's happening regardless. And it's a matter of opening yourself up enough to be receptive enough to just be a vessel through which it can happen, versus this pushing, striving. I remember Ani DeFranco, one of the most amazing, iconic, punk folk singers talking about how when she was going to give birth, she was like all like, yeah, I'm a tough bitch and I'm going to do this. And she had all these ideas, and it was like, she said it was the most gnarly experience of her life. She went into it like that. It broke her pelvis. The baby broke her pelvis because of that kind of energy, you know? So it's, how can we approach this whole birthing, rebirth, Aries warrior, power, nodes shifting energy with a way of allowing it to happen through us, getting out of our own way, and recalibrating ourselves back to a level of health and wellness that we may not have been, has not been accessible to us before because of impeding forces. I just wanted to talk about a few of the other aspects that are happening on this new moon. This is turning into a long share, but say lovey. So something else that's happening on this is that Pluto's trining Uranus on this new moon. And, you know, the two major ingredients, elements to make up a nuclear bomb are plutonium and uranium. And I've really been noticing people that have a Pluto conjunct a Uranus in their chart have this aspect that is just this nuclear power. So that trine is happening on this new moon. And we can use that freaking energy to blast ourselves onto a new timeline. The timeline's already getting blasted. I'm just aligning ourselves and highlighting the energies that are there to assist us. What else? The last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, is Saturn is opposing Mars on the Pisces. Saturn is opposing Mars on the Pisces Virgo axis, and it's bringing an awareness, which is the healer axis. And it's bringing an awareness to and a fire discipline to how we are going to be caring for ourselves. Everything that I just kind of talked about, that's kind of also in this mix and assisting us through this process. The last thing is Neptune is trining the moon, which is giving us an extra boost of vision, psychic vision, and allowing ourselves to line up with the flow of what in our highest state. Remember, the Tao, the flow, is our highest state, and aligning ourselves with that so that our visions become clear and we allow ourselves simply to slip in to this evolutionary moment of shifting into greater personal power and transmuting love over fear. So that's my message for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.